That was his blood. You could tell. Watch, you can see this. Oh, sorry, I'm talking to. Right there. You can see that's his ear. Hold on, right here. You can tell that's from his ear.
From all of our years of covering Donald Trump, these are the events he loves the most. He thrives off of the crowds, the audiences.
Sorry, you guys. I thought the audio.
He yelled at the fire commissioner to let more people in, but nevertheless, we must stress these events are so guarded by the Secret Service, and anybody that comes into them, of course, going through magnetometers, going through screening. But I think that you are going to have to imagine, even for Donald Trump, who takes his own personal security very, it was a prized possession, very careful, always listening to the Secret Service. I will be very curious, of course, now leaning into those reports and what I'm hearing from my sources that he's fine, how a Donald Trump rally changes going forward. And, I was reminded by a colleague of ours there have been scares before at rallies of Donald Trump. People have yelled things. I was at a rally once, I'm almost positive it was in Las Vegas, where someone yelled a gun, and the president, at that time, candidate Trump, was rushed off stage in 2016. But never have we seen something like this that has caused such a scare, such an alarm for the former president and his family.
Yeah, regardless of what happened here, as we're watching these images come through, they are quite remarkable and frightening, given the political environment that we've been in lately. Let's go back to the White House, because Mary Alice Parks, I understand you're getting word from Hakeem Jeffries.
Well, we just saw a statement, obviously, from the highest-ranking Democrat there in the House. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries put out a statement saying, "My thoughts and prayers are with the former president. I am thankful for the decisive law enforcement response. America is a democracy. Political violence of any kind is never acceptable." I know you've been talking to John Carl and others about some of the other Democrats that, of course, been weighing in. This goes beyond partisan politics. People in Washington, of course, across the political spectrum, hoping and making sure that the former president is okay, and congratulating law enforcement, like Hakeem Jeffries said, for their sort of decisive response. I can tell you that here on the White House campus, Secret Service, very tight-lipped, which is their standard posture. They don't talk to us about security protocol. That's a part of their protocol, to keep their plans to themselves. That's a part of how they keep presidents safe. The White House campus is not on lockdown. There are still tours going on, as is often the case on the weekends. I can tell you they've pushed back the perimeter at the White House. There's not protesters or tourists walking on Pennsylvania Avenue, but that happens from time to time, and the Secret Service would not confirm that they did that in response to this incident. But I will tell you, it happened right around the same time. The press that's traveling with the president in Delaware said that they noticed what seemed to them to be a heightened security protocol with the president at Delaware. In Delaware, he's at his residence there at Rehoboth Beach. That's to be expected. I would imagine there would be absolutely a heightened protocol, though the president is so guarded. But like I said, the Secret Service does not normally talk to us about their plans, how they work to keep the president safe. And at this point, they are being very tight-lipped about what happened.
Yeah, that, again, unclear exactly what the heightened protocol is, but we definitely know that when an incident like this happens across the board, we see changes made to law enforcement and additional protections to some of the people who they deem might be vulnerable in a moment like this. Let's go back to Rachel Scott, who's still there in Pennsylvania. Rachel, I understand you've been speaking with people who are at the rally with you.
Yeah, and these two Trump supporters are just making their way out. Tell me what you saw and what you heard. You said that you heard the popping sounds and you got down.
Sounds. At first, you think like maybe firecrackers, but it continued. It continued, and then somebody yelled, "Get down!" We got down. We got down, and we huddled, and we started praying, and we just started praying, and thank God. A little while later, we got up. When we saw other people get up, we saw Trump get up, raise his fist like I'm okay, and we kept praying. We kept praying, but I got a birthday card to Trump his birthday Flag Day, and right before I said I got a card to him. Security was going to give it to him here, and it in the card it said that George Washington.
So you kept praying, and what about you? How did you feel when you heard those sounds? What did you do?
I felt really bad. I'm worried about our grandchildren. What kind of life are they going to have if this goes on, if people don't have the right to say what they want?
You told me that you were near the very front. You weren't very far.
No, we were like from here to where that thing is. It's
All right, hold on. We're going to switch to this real quick.
Depending on what they find out, they're going to be looking initially to find out if there are any other potential co-conspirators, if you will. Somebody that could have been in the crowd that was planning on either that was doing something to assist the shooter, or maybe was there in some sort of
there's reports that somebody died.
Assistant sort of role. Maybe they were a backup shooter or something. There could be a lot of different scenarios that they have to rule out very quickly. Secret Service is extremely good at this. They know the mind of a would-be assassin or assassins probably better than anybody else in the world. That's what they do. They fully understand the mindset, whether it's based on violent extremist beliefs, whether it's based on some sort of mental illness, if you will, a variety of other motivations that they might have. And they have this pretty much figured out as far as what to look for. And so they're going to be doing all of these things, but they're also going to be collecting a lot of evidence. And that's one of the reasons they want to move people in an orderly manner. They want to kind of get them out of there, but they also want to start collecting evidence from them as well. And of course, it's an active crime scene. I mean, not only has a former president been injured, but there's actually been a homicide that took place. So they're investigating that.
All right, Hal, we are continuing to show the moments when all of that happened earlier today in Butler, Pennsylvania. Stick with us here. I do want to pull up this photo that we have from Donald Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr. In the aftermath of that, you do see the blood on the president's face and just above his right ear. Let's get to the latest from the Associated Press here. They say this: Donald Trump's campaign said in a statement that the former president was, quote, fine, after a shooting at his rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. A local prosecutor says the suspected gunman and at least one attendee are dead. President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this heinous act. A spokesman, Stephen Chung, said in a statement, a quote, again, he is fine and is being checked out at a local medical facility. More details will follow. The Secret Service also said in a statement that the former president is safe. Butler County District Attorney Richard Goldiger said in a phone interview that the suspected gunman was dead and at least one rally attendee was killed. We are continuing to follow this developing story that happened just after 6 p.m. on the East Coast, just after 3 p.m. on the West Coast. Joining us once again to continue to dissect this situation is Hal Kempfer, national security expert, also an expert in counterterrorism, and has worked closely with the Secret Service. Hal, any more thoughts as we continue to learn all of these developments? Again, that attendee was killed, suspected shooter dead. I know that we heard those popping noises when I played out some of that scene from earlier today. Would you be able to tell what kind of weapon was used in that scenario?
At this point, we don't know enough. And one of the things I would point out is we're relying on an audio feed that came from from media that's there. And so it's difficult. Obviously, from an audio feed, we have zero direction. We can't tell where it came from. We have no ability to do that. And what we hear could have been muffled. It could have been, an echo, if you will, off of other things that are out there. Certainly from where we are, a little bit difficult to ascertain exactly what kind of weapon it is. The fact that it sounded like it was more than one shot, it sounded like it was multiple shots in rather quick succession, would indicate that it may have been a small arm, possibly a smaller ballistic weapon, maybe. And if it was a pistol, assuming it's not a rifle, they said they took out the shooter. They killed
What's
the
up,
shooter.
everybody?
And that would indicate that the shooter was probably in fairly close proximity, unless they just got really lucky. But it would
Got
probably
good
be in closer
screenshots for you.
proximity. That again is a supposition. We don't have any details. We don't know that for sure. But if that's the case, it could have been a smaller weapon, and it may have been something like an improvised weapon, sort of what was used, maybe something that was designed specifically to evade all the security precautions at a rally like this. And if that's the case, it may be a smaller caliber weapon. Could be a 22, 25, could be a 380, a smaller type weapon in terms of the type of ballistics involved, in terms of the.
All right, I'm going to play the video and you're going to hear it. Here, hold on 1 second. Let me pull it up. Let me see here. Where did I put it? Oh, hold on. I got to download it.
The rounds that would have been fired, but we'll find that out. We'll also find out how the person killed was killed. Were they?
Let's see.
Were they behind? Former President Trump, or in around former President Trump? Was that how they were hit? Could it have been somebody that was closer to the shooter?
I'm going to show you guys.
Could have been somebody that got in front of the shooter, or in front of the shooter while they were shooting, or somebody who saw the shooter and tried to take action. We have no information on that right now, and so we're going to find out more about that situation as it develops. But there's going to be a lot of evidence gathering. There's going to be a lot of investigation with physical forensics on scene, looking at everybody's feeds, whatever they were streaming out there, but also looking at anything online with the shooter themselves to figure out who was this person connected with, who are they talking to, is there a broader conspiracy, do they need to change the threat condition across the board. These are all things the Secret Service is doing in conjunction with other law enforcement agencies.
Hal, I do want to
They
bring
wouldn't
up
have got caught if it was
photo that
anything
we
else.
just got
Give me a
into
break.
our newsroom, courtesy of our partners over at Fox 4. Very jarring images that we see there. The moments, it seems, when former President Trump ducked down behind the podium, you see the blood trickling down his face. It must have been
And
so
his ears
scary
tore
for
up.
him, as it was for people that attended this rally. I'd like you to tell our viewers a little bit about the Secret Service detail that does follow the former president. You had mentioned earlier in our conversation, he is not a current sitting president, but still, he does have heavy.
All right, we'll get to that in a
take
second.
back the White House, because if
We'll get to that in a second. Here's when it happened.
America better than we're going to make it, and it's not easy because we have millions and millions of people in our country. Criminals, we have criminals.
Gosh, I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell's going on with this recording. Is it working?
He's a valiant fighter. He's a great
Watch,
gentleman.
this
so
is
we're
when
gonna
it was
bring him
going
up
on. I
for-
rewound
Can
it,
we bring him
hurried
up for a
up,
couple of
and
minutes
recorded
later,
it.
a little bit later. All right, you get ready, McCormick. You get ready. I'll get
Watch
you up
this.
here.
You can hear all the shots.
The world will see a vibrant Republican Party that is bigger, stronger, more confident, and more united than ever before. And that's what we are. We're the most united party now. I'm watching the fake news go crazy because they're saying the Republican Party has not been united since Ronald Reagan like it is right now. It was united under Ronald Reagan the second time. It was very united. And they said there's never been anything like it. They've never seen a movement like this. Make America great again. You know, Joe Biden talks about we have to stop MAGA. MAGA means make America great again, Joe. It means make America great again. That's all we want to do. If he was doing the job, I wouldn't even be doing this. I'd be at some beautiful place with a gorgeous ocean, the Mediterranean. the Atlantic, maybe the Pacific. Thank you. Thank you. Instead, I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a senator elected and to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it. And it's not easy, because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here. And it's much tougher than if it happened. We had the strongest border ever. In recorded history, we had the best border. In fact, if they could ever put up a chart, I don't know if they can do it. Do you guys have access to that chart that I love so much? You don't mind if I go off teleprompter, do you?
Right, it's about to happen. Wow.
Because these teleprompters are so damn boring. I try and explain that. Oh, there's it. Wow. You guys are doing it. They're getting better with time. My guys, take a look at that chart. Take a look at the arrow on the bottom. See the big red arrow, right? So that's when I left office. That was the lowest point, and that comes right from the government services, comes right out of Border Patrol. Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened. History into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Move it there. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go.
The dead, the shooter in this incident is also, I didn't want to interrupt you, but just confirming, the Associated Press says that one of the rally attendees is among the dead. The shooter in this incident is also dead. So we have that confirmed through the Associated Press. The person who fired shots in an assassination attempt on former President Trump is dead. And sadly, an innocent person attending this peaceful rally has also been killed. Wow. Charles, I mean, there are no words that this would happen in our country anywhere, but particularly God Bless America is more than a song. It's, we really
I'll tell you, we got to be so grateful that the former president is alive, that at this point in time, he seems to be okay. We need to be thankful for the amazing job of the first responders, Secret Service, law enforcement on the ground to shield him with their own bodies, protect him, and get him out of harm's way and to a hospital so he can immediately be seen. You know, this is an area that is controlled by the Secret Service. Everybody coming in to this rally goes through screening by the Secret Service Uniform Division, where they are searched for hazardous items, including weapons. So the big question here is, did the shots, this being an outdoor venue, did the shots come from within that screened or clean area, or did it come from outside of this clean area? So that's something that the investigation is going to look at. The FBI, because this is an assassination attempt, the FBI will come in as the lead investigative agency. The Secret Service will work alongside the FBI to go over all of these details related to the shooting and how it occurred.
Let's actually replay the moment, and I want you, Charles, to just pay attention because I'm going to ask you for a play-by-play right after this. Can we play this moment off the top, guys? I wanted to actually have the audio up, but it's okay. Right now, we see that that shot. Now we can say it for what it is. That shot hit former President Trump. Right now, we see that
and how it occurred.
Let's actually replay the moment, and I want you, Charles, to just pay attention because I'm going to ask you for a play-by-play right after this. Can we play this moment off the top, guys?
All right, so looking here again at that very powerful and compelling image that we have from our partners at Fox 4 News, we're going to continue on throughout the course of this evening as we learn more from this very scary situation over in Butler, Pennsylvania, happening earlier today. Hal Kemper, stick with us here on the line. We're going to continue to speak with you as we learn more. We're dissecting the situation. Just reports that it's being investigated as an attempted assassination. We're going to have more from you coming up in a little bit. Stick with us here. But for now, everyone else that is continuing to join us, or if you are just joining us now, we are following this breaking news from earlier today in Butler, Pennsylvania. Two people dead, the shooter and also an attendee that attended the Trump rally. We did carry that moment live for you. We have been playing it for you throughout the course of this evening in case you have missed it, so you can see the moment that all of this unfolded. I would like to go ahead and reset now that we're about to hit the top of the hour here. We're going to continue our commentary. We are nonstop as we continue to get more information from this. Again, a shooting at a Trump rally from earlier today, now being investigated as an attempted assassination. If you are just joining us now, watch the moments this all unfolded. All right, before we do showcase that, as I said, this is developing and we continue to get breaking news. We have President Biden tweeting on this event. Take a look here. He says this: I have been briefed on the shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. I am grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well. I'm praying for him and his family and for all those who were at the rally as we await further information. Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service. The president here echoing similar statements that we heard from the former President Trump earlier today as he thanked law enforcement and also the Secret Service agents that helped during that time as we heard those shots ring out during that rally. The former president taking to the podium and speaking at around 6 p.m. Eastern time. That rally was supposed to happen at 5 p.m. Eastern time. It was about an hour late. About 5 minutes into the former president speaking is when those shots first rang out. But again, here on your screen, we are finally getting official word and a statement from President Biden, saying again, I have been briefed on the shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well. I'm praying for him and his family and for all those who were at the rally. as we await further information. Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service. Again, though, if you are just joining us, we have just hit the top of the hour, and we are going to once again showcase the moment that all of that unfolded earlier today in Butler, Pennsylvania. Let's watch.
And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Hold, when you're ready, on you.
There's the gentleman right there. There's the gentleman right there. Per the Butler Police Department, the Trump shooter has been arrested at the scene and has been identified as Mark Violets, an Antifa member. Prior to the shooting, Mark Violets uploaded a video on YouTube claiming justice is coming.
All guys here. Move it to the stand. Get ready. You ready? Are we good? Shooters down. Are we good to move? We're clear. Let's move. We're clear. Come on. Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold on, your head is bloody. So we got to move to the front. Let me get my shoes. Okay, watch out. Wait. And look what happened to.
Okay, so that clip playing back, and this is something that we're going to stick with for the rest of the evening. We do have national security analyst Hal Kemper still standing by with us here. We're going to keep talking this through. We're getting more and more details in as the evening progresses. As Carell, who so ably has been reporting this breaking news, showed just moments ago, the president has been briefed on the shooting at this rally. He says that he's grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well. Biden saying, I'm praying for him and his family and for all of those who were at the rally as we await further information. So, Hal, let's just talk about how we could have gotten here. You've been talking at length about the digital aspect to investigations like this. I'm curious, how do investigators sift through all the noise to find credible information? Because you have to imagine that threats come through the pipeline on the regular.
Thought the Secret Service, U.S. Secret Service does this better than any other organization in the world in terms of proactive protection. The Secret Service is a little different. Yes, they do investigations, they solve crimes, but in the protection side, when they're looking at protecting, whether it's a candidate or a president or vice president or whoever the protectee is, they have to take a very proactive stance because their goal is not to solve the crime. Their goal is to stop the crime from ever taking place. So they go out there And they are interviewing anybody who threatens or poses a potential threat to whomever it is they're protecting. A lot of times today, that will be found online. It'll be found in social media. It'll be found in various different things, group chats, all sorts of things that people will be saying stuff. And it's not uncommon that they will get a knock on the door from Secret Service agents who will have a little discussion with them to find out more information and to let them know that they're very much on their radar. And more often than not, that's all it takes. And that will deter somebody from doing something. And in many cases, they'll find someone is spiraling in a certain direction and they were able to bring resources to bear to deal with what could be mental illness or some other problem that resulted in whatever threat that person may have put out there. So they tend to be very proactive. In this case, somebody obviously got to the rally. Somebody actually fired a weapon at former President Trump, killed somebody else who was there. So it was a use of deadly force in that regard, because obviously if it killed somebody, that's deadly force by definition. And so they're going to be looking at how they didn't find this person. That'll be a question they'll ask, but they're also going to be trying to figure out, was this person associated with somebody else? They'll be looking at all sorts of possible motivations of someone who might do something like this, who would want to kill former President Trump. And they'll, I'm sure they'll be looking at the political spectrum of that. And there's unconfirmed reports of who the shooter is, and that's it's unconfirmed right now. But what I saw, they were immediately talking about an organization which is looks at, it's an by definition, it's Antifa, anti-fascist. Again, it's unconfirmed. We haven't heard any official thing on that yet. It may come in very quickly, but if that's the case, that would definitely fit. That's a left-wing anarchist organization, and that would certainly make sense that one of their more rabid followers, if you will, might get motivated to do something as heinous as what you see here. That would fit, but I don't want to jump to conclusions, because what we're seeing is just stuff that's been posted online, and frankly, we got to wait till Secret Service comes out and really to give us a real good definition of who this might be.
So when we talk about an event like this was a run-of-the-mill campaign rally. We see President Trump doing these on the weekly. This one was in Butler, Pennsylvania. This is about an hour's drive north of Pittsburgh. What kind of challenges do security officials have to deal with when they're trying to secure an event of this magnitude with a presidential candidate and former president in attendance? What are the challenges with keeping something like this secure, Hal?
There is a whole playlist they go off of. It's kind of like like a playbook that they go through, and they do all the, you always hear this, you see it in the movies too, whenever they talk about Secret Service, the advanced teams, they go up there. So they will go up there and they will look around the area. They will do a site survey. They will work with local law enforcement. They will work with others that they may bring in just for the event. They will try and contain the area. They will look at access control. They will look at line of sight of potential would-be assassins, of where they might position themselves. They look at all sorts of things. They're also looking at how do they get the protectee onto the stage? How do they get them off the stage? Where do they position the beast, the vehicle, if you will, the armored vehicle, so they can get them out of harm's way, out of possibly being shot or something. And of course, these are all things we just saw play out, everything you just saw there. So they go through this whole thing and where everybody will stand in proximity. A lot of this is pretty much something that, I mean, it's ingrained in terms of what they do. There's a school. They go through the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, the famous FLETC school at Brunswick, Georgia. I've done training in Brunswick, Georgia, at what's called FLETC out there. But then they go and do additional training. And one of the places they go is to a place near Washington, D.C. called Beltsville. And it's they actually have a full compound, if you will. It's a very extensive thing where they do everything you can possibly imagine in terms of thwarting assassinations. And they go through an extensive training program there where they are vehicular ambushes, everything you can possibly imagine in terms of all the scenarios that they have to be prepared for. So by the time they get out there and do a protectee detail, they're going to have a lot of training under the belt. Now, this particular group, highly trained, they're not the presidential detail. That's a little. Usually, the presidential detail has a lot of other stuff involved with it, and depending on the campaign season, it can really get rather involved. You know, initially in a very robust campaign season, you could have a lot of different candidates out there, all of whom
All right, you
qualify, or
guys.
most of them will.
We're going to take a pause for a second. I'm going to put up a warning, graphic content. So do me a favor. There is going to be an image that might be disturbing. So if you need to back out for 5 minutes, and that's a generous time, please do. If you need to back out, please back out. Come back in 5 minutes. This was at the rally.
To me, as you're trying to figure out.
Apply for Secret Service protection. And so they could really drain the resources down. That's a challenge they had. If you remember when President Trump was running for president in 2016, certainly just on the Republican side, there was a lot of different candidates that were running in the primaries, and we kept hearing the Secret Service was spread pretty thin.
So
they
Hal,
were bringing
I don't mean to cut you off here, Hal.
other resources.
Yeah, I don't mean to cut you off here, Hal, but we're hearing that President Biden will be speaking very shortly. This is, and we just lost the image. We have another angle that we're watching for, but we are anticipating hearing from the president very shortly on this matter. My colleague Andrew Kraft is standing by right now. We're going to bring him in. Andrew, I want to point out also that we're hearing in from Jackie Heinrich. The Biden campaign tells Fox the Biden campaign is pausing all outbound communications and working to pull down their television ads as quickly as possible. Andrew?
Yeah, Austin, let's talk about the political implications of this. The Biden campaign was in the midst of a $50 million ad blitz this month with spots running in all of the key swing states. The massive ad buy was launched last week, according to reporting from Peter Doocy and Jackie Heinrich. The Biden campaign now pausing all outbound communications, and they're working to pull down television ads as quickly as possible in the wake of this attempted assassination attempt on his chief arch rival in the presidential campaign, of course, Donald Trump. We're also learning that President Biden will be making remarks very, very soon. He's home, I believe, in Wilmington, Delaware at the moment. He went to church tonight, as he is customary to do on Saturday nights there at his parish church in Wilmington. And so we're learning that this is going to be coming very, very soon. We have the statement in from President Biden as well. Let's read that. He says, I've been briefed on the shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well. I'm praying for him and his family and for all those who were at the rally as we await further information. It goes on to say, Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service for giving.
So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to him tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do. Okay?
Mr. President, do you think there was an assassination?
Democrats alike. I think that's very important to note that from all political stripes, governors, senators, former presidents wishing the former president a speedy recovery, thanking law enforcement for their quick and decisive actions. And we wait for President Biden to address the nation on this, as well as he faces his own questions on his own campaign.
We are hearing from the president right now. Let's listen.
Peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I am able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. But so far, it appears he's doing well, number one. Number two, that there's thoroughly investigating what happened to anyone else in the audience. We have some reports, but not final reports. And every agency in the federal government, I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing. Has anything happened? They learned any more in the last couple hours. So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do, okay?
Mr. President, do you think there was an assassination attempt?
I don't know enough to, I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I want to make sure we have all the facts before I make any more comments. Thank you.
Are you worried, President? Was the security failing, Mr. President?
Okay, so we missed the very beginning of those remarks. I want to play those back. Here's Biden speaking just moments ago from the top.
Thanks for coming, folks. I've been thoroughly briefed by all the agencies in the federal government as to the situation, based on what we know now. I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to them shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have engaged in making sure that we have more detail to come relative to other people maybe injured in the audience. I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you. I may be able to come back a little later tonight, but we'll put out a statement if I'm not able to if it's not convenient for you all. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I am able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. But so far, it appears he's doing well, number one. Number two, that there's thoroughly investigating what happened to anyone else in the audience. We have some reports, but not final reports. And every agency in the federal government, I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing. Has anything happened? They learned any more in the last couple hours. So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do. Okay?
Mr. President, do you think there was an assassination attempt?
I don't know enough to, I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I want to make sure we have all the facts before I make any more comments. Thank you.
Are you worried, President? Was the security failing, Mr. President?
President Biden wrapping up his remarks there. We still have standing by Andrew Kraft and Hal Kemper both. We have some information in from Jackie Heinrich saying that shooter killed by Secret Service counter sniper team. 2 additional casualties taken to Pittsburgh Hospital, Fox is told, per law enforcement source. We know that Butler, Pennsylvania is about an hour's drive north of Pittsburgh. And before we were listening in to the president, Andrew, I believe you were discussing some of the politics surrounding this.
Well, that's also so true, Austin, that you heard there from President Biden, who said that he tried to reach former President Trump and that hopefully the two will speak eventually. We know the former president is still at the hospital recovering. We're hearing he's in good spirits, but President Biden, his key political rival, did reach out as well. We're hearing from former presidents too, former President George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama, all issuing statements as well. But there are so many questions about what happened there at the rally. We have Hal Kemper on, who has extensive experience with counterterrorism, law enforcement. Hal, you yourself have worked in trainings with Secret Service officials. I want to read the statement in from The Secret Service spokesperson, his name is Anthony Guglielmi. They say this: an incident occurred the evening of July 13th at a Trump rally in Pennsylvania. The Secret Service has implemented protective measures and former president is safe. This is now an active Secret Service investigation, and further information will be released when available. We also know the FBI and the ATF are cooperating and assisting with this law enforcement investigation. But we also know, according to sources, this is being described as an attempted assassination attempt. We just got that news in from Jackie Heinrich there, that the suspect, the shooter in this, who is now dead, was taken out by members of a Secret Service task force there on the ground in Butler, PA here. Hal, what do you make of those developments? Because the Secret Service's role in all of this and their response, very quick, we watched it there on the stage. They huddled around the former president, tackled him, got him to safety here. What do you make of the Secret Service's response right now, knowing they took out the shooter? Do you have questions about how they went about this, Hal?
Actually, it looks like it was a standard playbook how they do it. The counter. Now that we know that it was a counter sniper that took him out, I'd like to revise something. We have more details.
Okay.
All right. Initially, it was thought maybe this could be somebody who was in close. Maybe it could be a small caliber weapon. If it was a counter sniper that took out whoever the shooter was, it could be the shooter was further out. And again, this goes to sound. The audio is tough to pick up when we're doing it, indirectly here because we aren't physically there. So it could have been a little bit further standoff than, say, using a small arm like a pistol. We will find out. Could be the counter sniper took out somebody standing right by the stage. That's possible too. But it does open up.
All right, I'm going to show you guys something real quick.
My guys, take a look at that chart. Take a look at the arrow on the bottom. See the big red arrow?
Look at the water tower.
So that's when I left office. That was the.
See that water tower in the top left? Right under the live symbol. You see the water tower, how it goes over those trees? I don't know. As soon as it happened, I rewound it and I saw it, and that water tower just instantly stuck out to me. Look how it's going over those trees. Look how it's right behind those trees. So that's why I'm thinking. That's why I'm thinking the water tower.
The possibility that this could have been something with a little bit longer range weapon. I wouldn't rule that out at this point. If it was
On
a counter
top of a
sniper that took
building?
him out, and that's what they do. They look
So he was on top of a building. I wonder what building.
around. They're constantly scanning the area to find out.
Does anybody have like a location of where this rally exactly took place? I want to look on Google and see what makes sense.
If there's there's a potential threat out there.
Anybody
Of
have a
course,
location?
Once rounds are fired, they zero in on that very quickly to eliminate the threat, which is exactly what they did. Although it's very clear that whatever happened, now we know there were 2 other people that were injured. We had the report that there was somebody killed, and there is no other conclusion that this would have been an attempted assassination. And I think we're just fortunate that the former president was slightly wounded, but wasn't seriously hurt. So I think they did everything that I would expect.
To our country.
They're going to go back and look at it closely, though. I can tell you they're going to look at they're going to be using this for training purposes for years to come to see if there's something they could have done better.
So, Hal, we're getting more details in just on the
Yeah,
minute-by-minute,
we're
if
at
not second-by-second
Butler.
timeline of how this all unfolded. According to the Associated Press, it took 2 minutes from the moment of the first shot for Trump to be placed in a waiting SUV. As Trump was talking, a popping sound was heard. You're watching the video now. The former president put his right hand up to his right ear as people in the stands behind him appeared to be shot there. Also, someone could be heard saying near the microphone at Trump's lectern, "Get down, get down, get down, get down," as agents tackled the former president. They piled atop him to shield him with their bodies, as is their training protocol, as other agents took up positions on stage to search for the threat. Hal, we're asking ourselves where the shooter was in this. Is it safe to say, can we make the determination that the shooter themselves, they were not in the large crowd itself? They weren't mixed in with the rally goers there. We know one of these rally attendees was also killed during this shooting here. And we're going to wait on more of the reporting to come in. But you're alluding to the fact that possibly this shooter was not in the crowd at all.
It's possible. A couple things jump out. Number one, taken out with a counter sniper. All right. If I'm a counter sniper, if the individual was in the crowd, that's a more difficult shot, as you can well imagine, because you have somebody, and certainly with the weapons that they're employing, if they were to do that, they would stand the chance of collateral damage. So if it's what they had to do to eliminate the threat, then they probably have to do it. But that's a more difficult shot. But one thing that jumps out when you look at this is former President Trump had his head turned off to the right when he was talking. And then as the shooting starts, he reaches up to his ear. That indicates that somebody had a shot off to the right, because if they were shooting head on, they would have shot him. It would have been a headshot. So they got him off to the right. Of course, if they were off to the right, that would normally be, this is pretty grisly stuff, but that would normally be a better headshot, because they'd have a bigger target, because of the shape of his head that they could use. He just turned his head, basically narrowed the potential head target that a shooter would have from that angle. And the other thing that jumps out is right after it's done, a number of people behind former President Trump immediately turned to the right. Something got their attention off to the right, and many of them were staring at whatever was going on off to the right, which indicates that there's a likelihood that the shooter possibly was off to the right, and that may have been where the shot came from. Again, this is just supposition based on what we're seeing, because we don't have that level of detail. As they release more information, as they look at the scene, as they investigate this further, we should find out, and I'm sure we're going to find out very soon, because they killed the shooter. We'll find out what type of weapon the shooter had. They'll find out where the shooter was placed, and they'll be figuring out how the shooter got into position, how the shooter somehow evaded all the security that goes with an event like this. So we're going to find out more and more about this. And again, Secret Service and others will be using this as training for years to come.
They better.
To figure out what could they.
2024, whatever. So here's the map. I just wanted to let him finish talking. Here's the map of Butler Farm, whatever it was called. I just typed it in. Do me a favor, take a screenshot and make a mark on it and show me exactly where they were at, and then we'll look at the buildings.
They try to do an proactive way of doing this. They when they perceive a threat, they don't wait for something to manifest itself at a rally. They will go out there and talk to someone and they will do what's sometimes called a knock and talk, where they'll go and have a discussion with them to let them know that they're on their radar, they're watching them. They'll be doing some sort of evaluation, which will go into whatever the threat condition that they need to, or threat posture. And that's part of a threat assessment process that they have, which is very sophisticated, that they work through. So they do all of these things. And then depending on whatever potential threats are in the area, they will adjust, certain things with the rally or the event itself based on whatever they perceive the threat to be. And so I'm assuming all of these things were done accordingly, although this individual may not have been on anybody's radar. As people are becoming more sophisticated with what they do and don't do online, they also know to avoid saying things online that in the past would have tripped them up. So this is someone who probably obviously they got to where they got in terms of positioning with the weapon and doing what they did. So they abated a number of things where they could have been detected earlier. They're going to be looking closely at that as well.
I want to pull up some more reaction. We're hearing from Vice President Harris, who was also campaigning in Pennsylvania today. She was in Philadelphia. She says she's been briefed on the shooting at former President Trump's event in PA. Doug and I are relieved that he is not seriously injured. We are praying for him, his family, and all of those who have been injured and impacted by this senseless shooting. Hal, we're going to leave it at that for now with you. Thank you for your analysis as we cover this developing situation. We are going to play out once again what we witnessed earlier today, and we watched it live as President Trump was holding a mostly run-of-the-mill campaign rally. He was speaking about border issues at the time that this took place. Let's play this out. This is what happened earlier.
And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Move it there. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Up. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Move it to the stair. Stair, get ready. Stair, get ready. You ready? Are we good? Shooters down. Are we good to move? We're good to move. We're clear. Let's move. We're clear. Come on. Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold on, your head is bloody. So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my shoes. Okay, my shoes down. What's up?
I don't have that information at this point.
That is being unified.
Biden reaching out, trying to speak with former President Donald Trump. These are two men who do not speak to each other. I mean, they hardly even acknowledged each other in that debate a couple of weeks ago. So the president trying to reach out, the former president trying to at least, give as much of a perception of unity in this moment of tragedy in America.
Yeah, and you heard with the president there essentially arguing that now is not a time for politics, that this is a moment where the country has to unite. You heard the president saying there is no place in America for this type of violence. And as John noted, yes, it is certainly unusual to hear President Biden refer to Donald Trump by his first name. And yes, we know that he tried to reach out to him. We don't know why he wasn't able to get a hold of him, but the president says he's going to continue to try. And this, you can't understate how much it has completely and totally upended this campaign, this race, this moment that we are in America. We were just days away from the Republican National Convention. We have seen, of course, a ratcheting up of divisive rhetoric in this country. We were at a point where you were hearing, as Joe Biden has been facing a lot of doubts from those within his party about the future of his own candidacy in this race. He's been urged by others to take the fight to Donald Trump more forcefully, to outline more forcefully the case in this race. All of that now coming to a halt. The campaign announcing that they are trying to pull down, they are going to be pulling down their ads off of the airwaves. That this is a moment where instead of ramping up, you are having the campaigns hit the pause button completely. Now, what will that mean? How will that change this race? Will it change the way the two parties talk about each other going forward? Will it actually bring the country together? All huge questions and things that remain to be seen in the coming days. And just one more thing, Whit, I do think it was interesting. The president there was asked if he thought this was an assassination attempt. He said, I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts, echoing what I think many Americans are thinking right now.
Absolutely. Mary Bruce, thank you so much. I do want to bring in District Attorney Richard Goldinger from Butler County, Pennsylvania. Richard, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We've been reporting this information that you gave to some of our team here at ABC News about the shooter being dead and at least one bystander, possibly a second, also killed. What more can you tell us about this incident?
Well, I'm sorry to be talking to you under these circumstances, but yeah, I can confirm that the shooter is dead. And we have one spectator who did pass away as a result of this incident. The second individual that was removed from the scene is in what I would say serious condition. I don't know their condition at this point, but we do have at least two spectators that sustained injuries, or obviously the first one passed away from the shooter.
Forgive me, just to confirm, so the shooter is dead. You noted that, but earlier we reported possibly two spectators were killed. So now you're saying, just to clarify, one was shot and killed, another one sustained serious injuries. Their condition at this point, unknown?
That is correct, yes.
Do we know anything about this shooter?
At this point, no.
Is it a man?
I don't even know if it's male or female, to be honest with you. So
okay, so we don't know if it was.
At this point, no.
Is it a man?
I don't even know if it's male or female, to be honest with you. So
okay, so we don't know if it was male or female. Was the shooter? Is it believed that the shooter was actually in the venue, or fired the shots from outside?
I can confirm the shooter was not within the venue. The shooter was on the roof of a building that was adjacent to the venue, and so they would not have had to go through the security process of entering the rally and be subject to the search and everything.
Forgive me, I was just getting some information in my ears as you were speaking. So the shooter not in the venue, on the roof adjacent to the venue. So is it believed then that some of these other shots that we heard witnesses describe, that was law enforcement returning fire? Was it law enforcement who took the shooter out?
That I can't confirm.
That's a yes?
No, I can't confirm that.
Okay, so it's not clear how the shooter died.
Correct. At this point, we don't know. I don't know. How about that? I don't know at this point.
Fair enough. I understand. And forgive me, I know it's a fluid situation and information is coming in piece by piece.
Extremely, yes.
Richard, just your take in general. This is obviously a tragic moment in this country. I mean, not only do we have this act of political violence, we have bystanders, people out there just exercising their right to support a candidate, potentially shot and killed. What are you feeling at this time?
Well, I mean, it's terrible. I mean, first of all, I'm embarrassed for my community that this happened here. I am disgusted and sad that somebody actually lost their life as a result of this. And, I mean, unfortunately, it appears to be just almost, I don't want to say a microcosm, but the state of our country, where we are right now and how divided we are. And somebody would resort to something like this to, well, I don't know the motives, but potentially affect a presidential election. And it's really sad. Yeah, I mean, we need to, I agree with President Biden. We need to come together. We need to unite because of this. And I hope that maybe, something bad like this happening, good can come of it after the fact.
Yes, let's all hope that that could be the case, and perhaps this country could have a moment of unity in what has been a very divisive time, and only getting painful by the minute here as we get more details about what happened. I do want to ask you about the bystanders. Do we know any information about them, where they were seated during this event?
I don't have that information at this point. I'm going to guess that they were probably seated behind President Trump, based on the whole thing, but I don't know. I shouldn't even speculate.
Understood. Again, Richard Goldinger, we truly appreciate you taking the time this evening, and we're wishing the very best. Our hearts go out to you and your entire community as you try to build back from this tragedy. Thank you again. I want to go to, let's go back to Martha Raddatz in Washington. Martha, I know that you've been talking to not only law enforcement sources, political sources, but also...
All right, I'm going to pause that real quick. Here is a map. And so it shows, if you guys want to take a screenshot of that, it shows the roof of the building that the guy was on, and then it shows where former President Trump was standing at. So that's the roof of the building that he was on. This is a warning, graphic content. I'm going to show a photo real quick. If you need to, just back out for about 45 seconds and then you can come back in. I'll give you about 10 seconds to back out if you need to. All right, so here's the photo. All right, we're going to get back to this.
Folks in the military who were describing what they heard with those gunshots. We got some more information from the district attorney there. The suspect who was shot and killed, and we're not sure how, we're careful to point that out, was on a rooftop adjacent to the venue. What does that tell you, and what's the reaction you're getting from your sources?
Well, it certainly was a ways away from President Trump. And that in the beginning, when I started talking to people who were familiar with weapons and who heard that gunfire on the tape, said they were certain it was probably a ways away from the actual venue outside the security zone. And it sounds like that has proven to be true. There were several shots you could hear, and they were very distinct, at least 2 or 3, possibly more shots. And we don't know yet whether we were hearing not just the shooter, but those who then took out the shooter. But when I look at this video, and we've all looked at it over and over, and you see President Trump get up and put that fist in the air. We've now heard from his family. We now have heard that former President Trump is okay. But this is an incredibly sobering moment for former President Trump, for his family, and for the country. There is always a possibility something can go wrong. He is surrounded by security doing the best job they possibly can, the Secret Service, but these things can happen. And when he goes out there again, he is going to be thinking of this, whether he keeps that fist in the air, whether you can't keep him down. This is something that has got to be in the back of your mind. Back in 2016, just 4 days before the election back there, he was taken off the stage by Secret Service when someone shouted gun. There wasn't a gun. He was okay. Nothing happened. But even that, I mean, you can see that moment of fear in someone's eyes, and they have a right to be afraid in something like this. I also think what we're going to have to see in the coming days, and we talk about this divided country, we talk about this heinous act, is who this shooter is, what the motive actually was, where they come from, why they did this. This will be pivotal in how the country reacts, how former President Trump's supporters act.
Serious questions about security. I know you and many of us have been to these Trump rallies before, and you go through so much security to get inside the venue and the metal detectors, and they check your bags and everything. There are prohibited items, things you cannot bring inside. But to get this information from the DA now that the suspect was on top of a roof adjacent to the venue, that raises serious questions about whether something, a potential threat, was overlooked.
Well, I think, again, you cannot protect someone from everybody. There are ways to get to people. I think on the venue itself, obviously, and we've all been there, and they go through the magnetometer. But if you are a long way away and you have a weapon, I know certainly they have probably snipers positioned in certain places, but I've been to events too. And I think the Secret Service would be the first to say we do our absolute best. We lock down what we can, but people keep trying, and they keep trying to get in. But we will learn more on that, too. Any kind of investigation going forward, which will take weeks, months, probably years, how this happened.
Yes, this is just the very beginning. Martha Raddatz, thank you so much. I do want to go back to another witness here, Stephen Lasko, who was at the Trump rally. Stephen, if you can hear me, I understand you were only about 100 feet away from the former president. Describe what you saw and what you heard.
About 100 feet away from him, could see his face. He was right there talking, having a good time. And, you heard one shot, two shot. It sounded like, bang, nothing crazy. And then you heard maybe 3 or 4 more. And that's when everyone got quiet, started panicking. Trump dropped right to the floor. I guess Secret Service jumped on top of him and shielded him. But, as soon as everyone in the crowd figured out what was going on, we all ducked, and my buddies just jumped on top of me, piled on top of me. And we had no idea what was going on. You're in total shock. You're shook, and, you can't feel your legs, but we were trying to decide if we wanted to get up and run, and we had really no idea what to do. And next thing you know, you see bullets, or you hear bullets flying. And I believe a bullet hit the hydraulic lift that was holding up the speakers, and that thing almost collapsed. There was hydraulic fluid and water spitting everywhere all over the crowd. And then before you know it, everyone just gets up and starts running. But
And
Trump
Stephen,
did stand.
Oh, forgive me. I'm sorry. There's a little bit of a delay, but on that note about everybody getting up and running, we're actually showing video that you shot on your cell phone. And this is the moment with people running out of the venue. Describe what that was like, and when were you actually able to get out?
It was pretty stressful. I'm looking around trying to make sure all my buddies who came with me were with me. And, it took probably a good 10 minutes to get out of there, to get out of the whole area. And, before you know it, there's ATVs and UTVs flying and ambulances and all that kind of stuff. And we're trying to figure out how to get out of there and get home. But we made it. And when we walked out to the road, they had, police blocking everything off. And we actually found out where the building was that the shooter was shooting from. They had it all taped off. I guess it was like an agricultural warehouse, something like that. It was pretty scary. It's like you're in the movies.
Stephen, forgive me again. I'm sorry. There's a little bit of a delay with the connection, but did you say that you were able to see the building that the shooter was allegedly perched on top of here? You said it was taped off by law enforcement. What did it look like?
It was like kind of like an airplane hangar, maybe, like a warehouse for agricultural equipment, I guess. ARC, AGC, something like that on the side. But once we were out, maybe 30, 40 minutes after, you know, they were taping it off, investigating it. They had the dogs going and all that stuff. You know, there was traffic jams everywhere. It was kind of hard to.
How far away was that area from where the former president was standing?
Maybe 300, 400 yards, maybe less, honestly.
And Stephen, when you hear that people who were there in the crowd with you, other bystanders, at least one, maybe more, were killed, how does that make you feel?
Honestly, still kind of numb to it. You know, it's hard to process all this. You know, your heart rate is through the roof. But you know, best wishes for their family, and you know, they were supporting the country that they love. And in the meantime, it's definitely sad, and you know, it's heartbreaking, honestly.
And Stephen, we've been hearing from people on both sides of the aisle, Republicans, Democrats, you know, independent candidate, RFK Jr., and all with the same sentiment, condemning political violence, saying there's no place in this country for something like this. And I just wonder, from your perspective too, you're out there, you're exercising your right to support a candidate. You know, what message do you have for people out there? Because the country is at this political boiling point. There's so much division and anger and hatred right now from one side and the other. What would you like to tell people?
You know, at the end of the day, whether you're on the left, the right, the center, or you don't believe in politics at all, we all still put our pants on in the morning. We all breathe the air and go to work, you know, and a lot of these issues, in 10 years, no one even thinks about them or cares about them. So we're all people at the end of the day. And, you know, it's not worth taking someone's life over political beliefs or whatever. It's just senseless.
Well, Stephen, I think many people would agree with those words. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for sharing that video. And we're so glad and thankful that you and the people you were there with are doing okay. Thanks again.
Of course. And as Kelly Clarkson says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Well, let's hope that that's what happens in this country from here forward. The country definitely needs a moment of healing as we work closer and closer to Election Day. Stephen, thank you again. Let's go back to Rachel Scott. I believe she's still there in Pennsylvania. She was at this event. And Rachel, you've been speaking with witnesses. And who are you with right now?
Yeah, I'm with a woman named Erin. You were in the very first row in the middle seat, you told me. What did you see? What did you witness?
This is crazy. I was in the first row, and I was in the middle. I was directly in front of President Trump. So I saw him come on the stage, and it was maybe about 3 or 4 minutes. Everybody, all the photographers saw him come in. They all cleared away. He started speaking, and then we heard pound, pound, pop, pop, pop. In everybody's mind, it was like 4th of July. Somebody must have been still doing firecrackers. Then I saw the 4 Secret Service jump up and immediately push him to the ground. Then the news people that were around him, they all fell to the ground. There was 4 of them down there. And then we all stood up. None of us moved. We wanted to protect President Trump. Sorry, helicopter's landing. Then I saw the gentlemen who wear the guns in the black. They came on and they said, okay, clear right, clear left. On 3, we're going to lift them. So they lifted President Trump up, and he said, I got to get my shoes. His shoes must have fallen off when they pushed him down. I saw the red blood on his right cheek. Then when he turned, I saw the ear from the top to the bottom with red.
Erin, I'm just going to have the camera turn really quickly because we are seeing a helicopter landing. For everyone that is watching at home, this is obviously still an active crime scene where we are all standing right now. We are just yards away from where this rally was taking place. We're seeing a helicopter touchdown. We've obviously seen more and more police presence in the last hour following these events that occurred. And there are still supporters that are still trying to leave this area. You are one of them. There were hundreds of people here. And so the parking lots were very full. There was a line to get out. And so there's a little bit of a traffic jam also as well. So you described those moments. You heard the pop, pop, pop. Everyone went down for cover. How are you feeling? How are you processing this?
Well, everybody in the first row, nobody went down to the ground. They all stood up. They wanted to protect the president. All we were concerned about was him. And then kind of the Secret Service, when he got up and got into the vehicle, they told us to sit and stay seated because there was things going on And from what I hear, there was possibly 2 shooters. There's a gentleman here that has a picture of one of the shooters that was rolled off of a building. And he was shot by the sharpshooters that were behind Trump. And I saw a gentleman leave from the left stands, and he had red blood all down his shirt. He wasn't hit, but I think he was around somebody who was. So just picking up little bits of things. We're all in shock because we never expected this. I mean, it's a beautiful rally, a beautiful night. I don't know. If no one's ever been to a Trump rally, it's very congenial. People look out for each other. It just seems like you don't see any fights and you don't see any animosity and you don't see too much. They're all pretty much focused on the president. And then with this to happen, it's just stressful. It's just sad. Very sad.
This is an open fairground where we are standing here. It was a very hot day. People were coming in with their water bottles. As you said, there was this sense of sort of joy, excitement to see the former president. All of this unfolded within minutes of him taking the stage.
I don't think it was 3 to 4 minutes, I would say. He hardly got a chance to do his, waving at everybody and welcome and maybe a couple words on the teleprompter. But some people tell me that they think one of the shots hit the teleprompter and that could have made him with the cheek.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of unconfirmed reports still out there. We're also sorting through this.
He did leave the stage on his own. He walked down the steps. I saw that. And then he put his right hand up and fist up and said, "Stay strong, everyone." And he kind of turned like he was exiting. He was making sure that all those people like us that were standing up knew that he was okay.
Well, we so appreciate you taking the time, and I know you were waiting to clear out from this area as well.
Everybody's just praying for our president. That's how everybody is here. So thank you.
I'm so happy that you are safe. Please get home safe. Again, that is just one of the many witnesses.
Wow, this is crazy.
Here that are leaving
just witness it.
Fairgrounds now after this incident occurred. As you can tell, still a little shaken up there, still processing what happened, replaying those events in our minds for what we all heard, that sound of pop, 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 people rushing, taking cover, seeing the former president being rushed off the stage, and then ultimately all of us being rushed out of this area.
My premiere earlier,
that were
and we're
inside,
sitting there listening to it, and all of a sudden the shots go off. I was like, what?
Yeah, you get the sense as we've been talking to them one after another, many still in shock.
Was that gunshots?
I mean, how do you process such
we
a
all
thing,
rewound it.
Something you don't expect like this act of
freaking
violence.
Gunshots.
Rachel Scott Forrest, once again, thank you so much. I do want to bring in John David Longo, the mayor of Slippery Rock, who was with former President Trump right before the rally. Mayor, if you can hear me, where were you when the shots rang out?
I was just left of the stage, sir. So to the right of the president, I was front row there, right on the barrier when the shots rang out, and still trying to piece that together. I heard those sounds and immediately I thought I knew what I heard, but I didn't want to believe it. And I thought for sure it might have been a firecracker or a gag. But by the time I heard the second one, my ears recognized the sound, and it's just a very sad situation to be in. I put my wife down to the ground and covered her up, and everybody around us, we're making sure that everybody was low to the ground and staying still and out of the way so that our law enforcement officers and Secret Service could understand the situation while I also was scanning because we weren't quite sure exactly at that time where the fire was coming from.
And forgive me, Mayor, I couldn't hear you for a second. Did you say that as you were hearing the gunshots and everybody dove to the ground, that you dove down and tried to cover up your wife?
I did. I tried to cover up my pregnant wife. We just found out we were expecting a few weeks ago when I came here with her and my family today to come and bring them to hear President Trump speak. And my wife and I were blessed enough to be.
All right, we're going to pause this real quick. I'm going to go. This is from Donald Trump. It says, "I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was unalived, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known at this time about the shooter, who is now passed. I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong and that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through my skin. Much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening. God bless America. I wanted to share that with you guys real quick. Thank you for sending that out to us.
Be able to meet the president 15, 20 minutes before he took the stage and had a pleasant conversation with him, and it was all smiles. And of course, that was stolen from us when this maniac decided to do what he did. And unfortunately, somebody in the bleachers right behind us was murdered by this monster.
And what's your reaction to that, to learn that at least one person lost their life today who was just there at the same rally that you were attending?
It's sad does not describe, what that feeling is. This individual came here likely with a smile on their face, looking for hope and inspiration, looking to hear from President Trump in a place that is deep in the territory of blood red Trump country, and he did not get to leave here today with his life. And now his loved ones are probably wondering just how it is that something like this could have been possible.
Mayor John David Longo from Slippery Rock, thank you so much for your time, and we're thankful that you and your family are okay tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's turn now to Paul Eckloff, a former Secret Service for both former President Trump and for Obama. Paul, talk to me about this investigation as it stands now. Obviously, we've had reports that the Secret Service, other law enforcement agencies are treating this as an attempted assassination unless they hear otherwise. How is an investigation like this pursued from here on?
Yes, sir. These cases are exactly what the Secret Service trains day in and day out for. Unfortunately, it puts into sharp focus that the Secret Service as we know it today exists due to a history of political violence in this country, and they work tirelessly every day to prevent anything but the peaceful transfer of power. In this case, the Secret Service prepares for these contingencies by having agents in place for crime scene prevention, and they perform what's known as an interim federal presence before the FBI conducts the actual investigation on an assassination attempt.
Paul, thank you so much for giving me. Stand by for a moment because we're just getting new information right now. I want to go back to John Carl in Milwaukee. John, you're learning more from Trump himself.
From Donald Trump. I'm going to read it to you in its entirety. He says, I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known. This is Donald Trump saying nothing is known at the time about the shooter who is now dead. And here's key new information in this statement from Donald Trump. I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong in that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place. So I realized what was happening, and then he ends it, God bless America. So a statement from Donald Trump that he has posted.
Shout out to the community. We got to break that before ABC News did. Shout out community.
Went by, much bleeding, and expressing his condolences to somebody at the rally who was killed, another person that was injured. That statement from Donald Trump.
And now, John, as you've been with us for hours now, it's the puzzle pieces are starting to come together, at least in terms of the event today and what happened. You know, we don't have the who and the why yet, but we're starting to get the how and how this all played out tonight, because we saw earlier those images of the former president with the blood trickling down the right side of his face. We saw him flinching as he was speaking when the shots first rang out, and then reaching for his right ear. And then now that confirmation from the former president himself. And John, I know that politics isn't really at the center of the conversation in this moment, but I can't help but just point out that you're standing in Milwaukee, you know, at the headquarters of what is supposed to be the Republican National Convention this week, major events that were supposed to take place. How do you expect that not only the Trump campaign, but the Biden campaign will then respond to all of this? What did the next few days and weeks look like on the campaign trail?
I mean, what we're seeing immediately is a pause to the political, to this very heightened stage of this campaign. The Biden campaign has said that they have they've closed off all outbound communication. They're attempting to take down their television advertising across the country right now. We've seen statements come in from across the political spectrum. Former presidents, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, the current president, Joe Biden, who we've heard from both in a statement and in an live statement to the country, condemning what has happened, offering their well wishes, prayers for Donald Trump and for those who were at his rally. We're seeing this from people who are Trump's allies, from those who are adamantly opposed to him. But there's something else we're seeing that I have to say. We're already seeing some very divisive rhetoric in an attempt to politicize what has been roundly condemned by everybody. You have seen some of the president's allies suggest that Joe Biden himself bears responsibility because of the rhetoric that we've seen in this campaign. We saw a statement to that extent coming from J.D. Vance, one of those who's waiting right now to find out if he's going to be Donald Trump's running mate. We've seen a member of Congress say much the same, except directly pinning the blame on President Biden. So for now, across the political spectrum, a pause, universal condemnation, but the early indications are that that's just not going to last very long. It could get ugly very soon. There should be a moment where the country has a wake-up call that the hateful rhetoric that we have seen across the political spectrum is simply dangerous. We know death threats have become a matter of due course for political figures in this campaign. Even before this campaign, this should be a time for people to say it's time to step back, make it clear that violence has absolutely no place in American politics. But I think what you're also going to see is
we already have it, you guys. Here, this is the location. We already have it. It's this building right here. This building right here. Right here. That's the location. I can't just drop it here. Let me do this. This might work. See if this works, you guys. Yeah, we've had it. We're just checking this out here. Hold on. Go back to this.
While this campaign is for the moment,
Check out that.
in a state
Hopefully
of
that
shock
link works.
and pause. It's a campaign that seems like it is very well going to come back with a vengeance.
And on that point, this is going to be a huge test, no matter how you slice it in this country. Is this going to be a moment of unity at some point? Or is this a moment when people just flee back to their tribal corners, and start throwing rocks at each other again? That is going to be a major test for this country to wait and see what happens in the days to come. John Carl Forrest, thank you so much for that. I do want to bring also on that note, we have Rick Klein, our political director for ABC News, and our DC bureau chief joining us right now on camera. And Rick, pick up on some of these notes that we're getting from John Carl and just some of the reaction that you're getting tonight.
Yeah, just in the immediate term, Wade, I'm just a couple hundred yards away from the forum where this convention was set to go. The balloons are literally up in the rafters. There's a festive atmosphere that was here in Milwaukee just a few hours ago. All of that.
All right, so here. So see the Egg International right here. See? So the rally was right here. So Trump was standing right there. So see where my right there. See that little spot right there? This is where Trump was standing right here. See where my thing is? Trump's standing here. The shooter was on this building right here. You got the water tower right here. So see, you're basically looking over. See how you're looking? That's where all of it was at, was right here. On top of one of these buildings right here. So right here, not hard to scale, really. I bet you it was this building right here in the back corner. I bet you it was this one right here.
That, needless to say, is gone. There are social events that have been canceled for tonight. No convention business as of now has been impacted. No changes to the convention that's set to start on Monday, but it has definitely changed the mood, the tone, the tenor of the campaign. The news from the Biden campaign that they have pulled all of their advertising and paused their campaign communication. And as John referenced, some very ugly things that are being said just in terms of statements right now. A lot of accusations going about and a lot of heated rhetoric even at this time that has kind of chilled politics overall. Rick, let me ask.
All right, here's another angle. Here's another angle. I'm on the side of the street. There's the water tower right there. You see this bigger building that I was showing you guys on the other side? There's the bigger building. And look, wide open area. Wide open area from that building right there. Can we go inside? Right there. That's got to be it. Either that one. Yeah. It's got to be this one right here. And then you got that whole open area.
On heightened alert, there's going to be more security at all of these events. And I know you're there in Milwaukee. All the infrastructure is in place.
Agents whisking the former president off the stage, down the stairs to a waiting armored SUV, rushing him to a local medical center.
We heard what we appeared to be gunfire coming. The former president was rushed off the stage right now. With Secret Service, he's being escorted into his vehicle. This was a chaotic moment that just played out right here in Pennsylvania. People running and rushing to the ground as they heard those apparent shots fired.
Tonight, the Trump campaign releasing a statement saying the former president is fine and being checked out at a local medical facility.
Just hours ago, this area was lined with Trump supporters. They entered that tent right there to be screened by Secret Service, going through metal detectors, their belongings tested. Now, this is the space where you have Trump supporters that are leaving, panicked and confused as Secret Service agents rush us out of this area and back to our cars.
Tonight, the crowd still in disbelief.
Tell me what you saw and what you heard. You said that you heard the popping sounds and you got down.
Sounds. At first you think like maybe firecrackers, but it continued. And then somebody yelled, "Get down." We got down, and we huddled and we started praying.
Tonight, local officials telling ABC News those sounds were in fact gunshots, live rounds fired from outside the security perimeter. This is being investigated as an attempted assassination. And tonight, the local district attorney telling ABC News at least one person is dead and the shooter is dead as well. Tonight, President Biden addressing the nation.
I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it.
Those words from President Biden tonight saying everyone must.
So it says Trump's 2024 campaign website shows no event scheduled now.
The beginning tonight. We were talking to each other during world news as the rally was just getting underway, and you've been getting these horrific stories from witnesses.
Yeah, I'm still in
and you're
Myrtle.
with another one tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, we're with another group of witnesses that saw what happened. I will tell you, hours ago, this area right here was filled with Trump supporters eager, waiting to go inside of that rally. Right now, tonight, this is an area where Trump supporters are gathering. They're left with shock about what happened. Tell me what you saw inside.
Yeah, I was just about like 30 feet from Trump, and then I saw the people that had been shot, and they were bringing them down in the stands right above me, and I just didn't want to get down. I just kept standing. But I saw, I saw the man that was hit in the head, and there was a lot of blood, and I knew there was no way he was going to survive that. And then there were two of them that they brought down, but it was like real chaos and chaotic, but I didn't get down. And so it was very interesting. We were just right there. About 40.
What was going through your mind as you saw that person with tons of blood on them?
Yeah, at first I was thinking, I thought different thoughts, like maybe this was the shooter and then he committed suicide, or maybe someone shot him. That's what my first thoughts were. I didn't think about just like someone that was in the stands. Yeah, that's what I thought.
And now knowing that this is someone that was in the stands, how are you processing this?
No, I think we're all in shock. Yeah, we're numb that this happened.
Can I say, when I heard this going on, I thought it was a firecracker. It's like with Kennedy, people thought it was a firecracker. And I looked, we were 20 yards away from Trump, and then we were 20 yards away from where I thought it was a firecracker. But then now I'm thinking maybe those were bullets that were going over our head. Yeah. And then they were saying, get down, get down, get down. I just wasn't processing. It took me like 2 minutes, and I finally hit the deck. But I think it's just like you're in shock. And how did the guy get the gun in there? How did he get the gun?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because is this your first Trump rally?
No.
So I've covered a number of Trump rallies. I've been to almost every single Trump rally this cycle. You've been to a number as well. You're fully aware of the security precautions. Trump supporters, as they're making their way in, they have to go through magnetometers. Your bags are searched, your pockets are searched as well. And so any area where you're around the former president, there is a sense of safety. Yeah. And so to have this occur, what was going through your mind as you heard gunfire, get down, get down?
I think first I was in shock, but I do think I'm drawn to some of this I tried out for the Secret Service. I passed everything, but then they said, take your glasses off. That was the end of it. So my whole life would have been changed, but I couldn't see. But I guess I like to be where the action is in some ways. So, but I mean, not this, obviously this is just horrible, just horrifying. But
Trump survived. That's good. It would have been horrible news, worse news if he had been killed. So that's good. At least we had that. But yeah, we're all in shock. Yeah, it's really something. I just got done saying every generation thinks, well, we're past that. We're not going to have any more assassination attempts, and then you have something else, and maybe that's really hard to stop.
I thought it was firecrackers.
Yeah, you thought it was firecrackers. Yeah, I mean, so many people did. Initially, when that first happened, there was a lot of confusion for everyone that was inside of that fairground near. We heard the pop, 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 pop sounds. We heard shouts of gunfire, but we did not know for sure. We were just all told to get down. And then from my understanding, it was also law enforcement that told you all to just stay down, even though the former president was already escorted, to make sure that they had the situation under control.
They kept saying, stay down, but then curiosity overcame me. After about 5 minutes, I stood up, and there were like 6 or 7 men with AR-15s or whatever, whether they AK-47s or AR-15s, and they were just like hawks. They were looking around, staring at everybody, and their guns ready. And one guy looked kind of nervous. I mean, it was just, I was just kept thinking that we're going to be a part of history here, so. Yeah. But it's just it's horrible.
Bad, but I got it was shot because there was so much blood and things. So he was right above me, so I thought, oh, there's no way he survived that. But, yeah, what a day.
a hard thing to witness. And I so appreciate you all taking the time to speak with me. And I'm glad that all of you are safe. Please get home safe. Again, with just this sense of disbelief, trying to process, replaying those events over and over in your head. That's what everyone here that was inside of that Trump rally is still having to contend with as they process the moments that happen, those frantic and chaotic moments of what they witnessed inside with.
Yeah, and I can't help but think there's going to be a lot of trauma after this event for all of those witnesses who are there, watch this unfold before their very eyes, and also knowing that, you know, one of their fellow supporters, somebody who was just there, part of the rally, at least one person lost their life today. Rachel Scott, and to you, we can't thank you enough for all your reporting throughout the evening. Stand by, we'll come back to you if news develops. But let's bring in John Cohen tonight, ABC News contributor, former FBI. John, there are so many questions about what happens now with this investigation. Take us through this process. Where do they begin?
Well, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to identify the suspect. They're going to try to determine by evaluating their social media, their communications, their interactions with other people that they are associates with, whether this was an act of a lone offender or whether it was part of a broader conspiracy. They're also going to be looking for any type of follow-on events. Part of the danger in a situation like this is that people may view this as either an act to be replicated or may seek to respond. So law enforcement very quickly across the country, quite frankly, is going to be looking at trying to prevent any residual events following this incident.
John, thank you very much. And we do know that the FBI is joining the Secret Service in this investigation. Let's go back to Martha Raddatz. Martha, you've been talking to sources, also military sources, and you have some new information, what you're learning about the weapon.
Well, we know from our own reporting from Aaron Katersky and others here at ABC that they believe it was an AR-15 and that the shooter got off 8 rounds. Talking to a military source who said it is the same thing as an M4, which they use in the military. We train to shoot at our ranges out to 300 meters without optics or a scope. A good shooter can easily shoot further with an optic. That's about 330 yards, and it's believed the shooter was 200 to 300 yards out. This military officer said the 300 yards is definitely in range, not an easy shot, but 100% in range. And this is very sobering wit. He said, I am surprised he didn't hit him. We do know that his ear was grazed and not certain exactly how that happened at this point, although Donald Trump said he believed it was a bullet going by him. But I am surprised he didn't hit him. This military officer also says that it was likely, given the sounds he has been listening to all day on that tape that we have been playing and that Donald Trump himself heard and everybody there who was there, that it was far away, but that perhaps the shooter tried one shot, missed, and then got off several very rapidly just into the crowd.
Yeah, 200 to 300 yards away, and that shooter on top of a roof. And Martha, to your point, it is worth emphasizing that. I mean, former President Trump says that he heard the bullet whizzing by and that it pierced the top of his ear, literally inches away from taking his life.
It certainly would have been if it in fact is proven to be a bullet that went right by his ear. Millimeters. And, you know, the way you turn your head or you don't turn your head. And again, that we have to emphasize this was clearly in range for a weapon like that, whether the shooter had a scope, whether the shooter did not have a scope. Even without a scope, this military officer says you can take someone out at that range. Again, the dangers of these kinds of events with people way outside of the event itself, way outside security, and that is something the Secret Service is going to have to look at, local law enforcement as well, how this person got on that roof undetected by police or anyone else carrying a rifle up there, carrying an AR-15.
And again, we still don't have information about the threat itself, the motive, who the shooter was. We haven't even been told by law enforcement, whether they think the threat is over. So still a lot more information to come. Martha, thank you so much. We appreciate it as always. And throughout the evening here, we've been speaking with many other eyewitnesses. You heard from Rachel earlier. We spoke to some live on the air who were at the rally describing how the former president had just started to speak and then the shots rang out.
What you saw and what you heard. You said that you heard the popping sounds and you got down.
Sounds. At first you think like maybe firecrackers, but it continued, and then somebody yelled, "Get down!" We got down, and we huddled and we started praying, and we just started praying, and thank God, a little while later we got up. When we saw other people get up, we saw Trump get up, raise his fist like I'm okay, and we kept praying.
I felt really bad. I'm worried about our grandchildren. What kind of life are they going to have if this goes on, if people don't have the right to say what they want?
You told me that you were near the very front. You weren't very far.
No, we were like from here to where that thing is.
And you got down. You said you got down immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody yelled, "Get down!" My daughter-in-law, Lisa, she said for us to hurry up and get down.
Well, I mean, I saw all the Secret Service, they did a really good job about that. Make sure he telling everyone to get down. So I think they did take a good care of making sure everyone was understanding what was going on and being serious, but not freaking everybody out.
What was your initial reaction when you heard those popping noises?
To get down. Yeah. So I actually my boyfriend pushed me on the ground and went on top of me, which was really nice. But I think a lot of people were a little too shocked to understand what was going on originally, for sure. But I think everyone listened pretty well and it was handled pretty well.
Did you see some of that commotion that was playing out on the other side of the bleacher where we saw law enforcement agents sort of swarm around another individual, or did you ultimately just rush out?
No, we were there for a minute because they did tell us to go back down again just in case. I think that was good because it helped calm people down. But I think one of the stands that I was next to, they did carry out a man, and there was another one that might have been injured. I'm not 100% sure, but definitely one at least. And on the other stand on the other side, because I was on the right, on the left, there were a bunch of men in uniform surrounding someone. So that was interesting to see.
You said that you were very impressed by the speed in which Secret Service was able to get on that stage within seconds of all of us hearing those popping sounds.
Yeah, absolutely. They did a great job. I definitely felt protected in the situation. The sniper was on it, watching on guard. Everyone on the scene did a great job. I mean, of course it was nerve-wracking in the moment, but I never felt like I was in danger, which is cool. They were on the president, which I'm very thankful of, and they did a great job protecting him and getting him out as quick as possible. He is doing good, which is good. Yeah.
I'm the Republican nominee for the Senate in Pennsylvania. I was in the front row, and President Trump had just announced me and said he was going to have me come up on the stage, and said, well, wait a minute. And then there were a number of shots, I think probably 7 or 8 shots. It wasn't clear whether they would come from one place or 2 places, at least I couldn't tell. And immediately there was a swarm of Secret Service officers that, got on top of and knocked down President Trump and got on top of him. And then he stood back up, and you sort of saw this fist come out, sort of defiant that it looked like he was okay, but you couldn't tell for sure. It looked like there was some blood, but it wasn't obvious. And then the entire crowd went to the ground because we weren't sure whether the shots were done. And then unfortunately, over my shoulder, someone had clearly been hit. I was on the ground, and up in the bleachers, probably 3 or 4 bleachers behind me, it looked like there was a man who was severely injured. There was a lot of blood, and his people around him were trying to administer first aid. And then some police officers came in and carried him out and presumably took him to get first aid. That's really all I could see. I don't know if there were other people injured, and I don't know if there was anybody apprehended, because as you might imagine, once that happened, the crowd was very chaotic, and it was very hard to know what was going on. And we're still there at the rally, just sitting trying to get out because the traffic is so backed up.
And Dave, your account.
Here's a photo for you guys real quick.
Reporting that
150 meters, 139 meters is the shot from the roof where he was standing.
Proud. What was going through your mind in that moment?
Well, it takes a minute to process. People started to panic all around. You could feel, people were very scared, and so, everybody just dropped to the ground. And it felt very obvious that the president was under assault, and very much at risk. And it wasn't clear that he was okay to begin with. And then, once it started to sink in, you're thinking, are there still shooters out there? Are they going to target other people? And, it's just like these, situations. I was in the military previously. You realize over time that the facts start to come together. So you got to be careful not to draw too many conclusions early on. But I think what we all felt was a sense of, oh my Lord, everybody's in danger because there's clearly a shooter, at least one shooter in the crowd, and maybe more. And really, I think scary for everybody who was there. And shocking, even more than scary, just shocking, because you were in the middle of this rally and it was, kind of fun and people were, enthusiastic and all of a sudden, it was turned upside down.
What does this say to you about our state of division and the politics in this country right now?
Well, I don't want to draw any conclusions before I know more about it. But, obviously it's, if you're a public official, if you're a presidential candidate and, your safety's at risk, that's scary for all of us, no matter what party you're in. And so I think it's a moment to take stock. And, you had 15,000, it seemed, it was a huge crowd. I was told by the law enforcement people, there are 15,000 people who were enthusiastically supporting their candidate. And all of a sudden, the former president, his life is at risk, and what were peaceful people in the audience are wounded, potentially, fatally. I mean, that's unacceptable, and it's not a matter of party. That's just unacceptable in our great country.
I do want to go to Leonard Verdetto, who is an eyewitness who was there at the rally today. He's joining us now on the phone. Leonard, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, Leonard. We're so grateful that you are okay. Can you just walk us through what happened and what you saw?
Sure, absolutely. So everybody was excited to see the former president coming out. We were all, excited, and we were all happy. We were all joyful. We were.
All right, I'm going to pause it real quick. I'm going to go to the Facebook group. So this is our Facebook group here. I'm going to pull up the picture. This is why it's the best. If you want to send information, send it right here, because look, I can literally just pull it up from right here and show you guys whatever you want to post. So here's a larger view. Let me bring this down. Here's a larger view. Okay. Right there. 139.73 meters from where I'm guessing the roof over to where former President Trump was standing. $139.73 meters. And this is something else I want to show you guys too. Okay, we're gonna click here to Google Maps. You're gonna tell me you don't see some dude on top of the roof?
We were all there for each other. And then the former president was giving his speech. Then moments later, there was some, popping sounds that were going off. There were about maybe 6 or 7 to 8 shots that were happening. None of us really registered at the time, but then all people were saying, get down, get down. Even I was saying, get down. Other people were saying, get down as well. And, we were all praying. We were praying to Yeshua, the Lord Jesus, and we were praying to him to keep us safe, keep us protected. But unfortunately, what happened was, someone did get shot. What I do hear is that I think 2 people did get shot, that to the best of my knowledge. And I believe that, the former president, which I'm glad he is safe. So
Leonard, and again, we don't have all these things confirmed yet, so this is your perspective here. But
all right, if anybody, here's the guy again. I'll keep showing this too. This is the latest report from it. Well, you heard one of the witnesses say that they saw the guy fall off the roof. He rolled off. This is what I'm wondering. They couldn't fire a shot on him until he fired a shot. It makes me wonder if one of the Secret Service snipers already had dude's finger on the trigger in their scope and they just waited for him to flex so they could flex. And the reason, because come on, you're not that far away. You're not that far away. It makes me wonder. Did they have his finger on the trigger in their scope? Maybe they had to wait until he was pretty much going to shoot. It makes me wonder, did they hit him in the shoulder when he shot? So then it changed the trajectory of the bullet. Because when we take you down, when we take you down, here, look. It's not very far. You got the building. And you got where they were standing. The building. Where they were standing. The building. Not very far. I don't know. Something's weird.
when you say that you believe that 2 people were shot, could you actually see people, potential victims?
What I seen, and to the best of my knowledge, sir, is that, you know, and again, I was hearing it from other news sources as well, but what I seen, when I first seen that there was blood on a couple of people. You know, someone was shot just like about 5 feet right behind us, to be honest with you. So we were that close, and thank God we weren't shot either.
And where were you located? We're looking at the video right now. This is the former president being brought back to his feet after those shots were fired. Were you on the stands behind Donald Trump, or were you in front of him?
If you're looking exactly at him, we'd be on the left side, actually. We were the left side of the other stands where you've seen those big TVs.
So the left side of the stand.
All right, we're going to switch back to this. We're going to play it again. Hold on. This is when I recorded it from earlier when it took place.
The lowest point, and that comes right from the government services, comes right out of Border Patrol. Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Okay. Hold on. We're going to listen to this. I'm going to mute this music. And I'm going to mute me. You can do me a favor. Play it over as many times as you want. I don't hear anybody on the news playing this anymore with the audio. I recorded it. Go ahead and replay it. You know, replay it a few times, whatever. I'm going to replay it a few times. See how, let's try and figure out these gunshots, y'all. I'm wondering if he got shot at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like he got shot in his shoulder. Like they had his finger in the trigger in their scope. It makes me wonder if they got if there were shots at the same time. Let's check it out here. I'm gonna play it a few times for you.
Million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Move it there. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go.
Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Move it there. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go.
So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Move it there. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go.
And people in the crowd eager to hear from the former president to, within a matter of seconds, the pop that people thought at first maybe sounded like fireworks before the horror of what actually happened came into focus. Let's go back to Martha Raddatz. Martha, I know you've been talking to sources here, and I gotta say, just it's one thing when we get the reports from law enforcement, but when you hear from a witness who witnessed someone die before their very eyes, it's a reminder of just how horrific and historic this event was today.
And how tragic.
Yeah.
And I think most of us just saw what happened to former President Trump, and we're all thankful he is okay. But what happened in that venue, and hearing the story of that young soldier or military person leaping into action, which is not a surprise, going there for a jubilant celebration and having to deal with that kind of tragedy is sobering to us all. I do know that the weapon that the shooter apparently used was something that could be fired from 200, 300 yards away or even more, and could have been accurate. He very well could have shot more people. He very well could have killed former President Trump. even though he was 200 or 300 yards away, because that kind of weapon has that kind of range. We don't know yet whether he had a scope on that weapon or any sort of scope whatsoever. But even so, even just with the naked eye, he was clearly shooting within range of President Trump.
Yeah, still so many questions about how this played out, who this shooter was, the motivation there, and where the investigation goes from here. Martha Raddatz, as always, thank you. Let's go to Josh Margolin, one of our senior investigative producers, who's been getting new details from law enforcement. Josh, what are you learning?
With the key part of the investigation, a key part of the investigation will be on looking at where the shooter was, this elevated position, as the Secret Service now confirms. Elevated positions have long been perceived by law enforcement as a real risk to events, to people that gather. Look, just in recent years, we saw the Highland Park, Illinois mass shooting on July 4th, 2022. That was a shooter who was at an elevated position. Of course, the Las Vegas massacre, the worst mass shooting in American history, that was with a shooter who fired down from an elevated position on the Las Vegas Strip. And obviously, we can't forget President Kennedy was killed by a gunman who was located floors above the motorcade that Kennedy was in when he was assassinated. Elevated positions are, the Secret Service prepares for this. So a key thing is going to be, how did this gunman get to the location? Why was that location available to that person?
Exactly. And I think obviously this is early on, and it's hard to ask some of these hypothetical questions now. But Josh, like all the surveillance and the scanning of these areas that go into place before the event even occurs, and the drones and the helicopters and devices up above, it's hard to imagine how something like this could have been missed from 200, 300 yards away, a rooftop elevated position. That will definitely be part of the investigation going forward.
Absolutely. And in fact, the Secret Service has already gone public during the January 6th committee hearings. There was testimony about the Secret Service. They know that people that come to Trump rallies sometimes come carrying weapons, not necessarily because they want to hurt anybody. People carry weapons, but you're not allowed to bring those weapons into proximity of the president, of the former president, of the candidate.
Josh Margolin, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Let's go back to Rick Klein, our political director at Washington bureau chief, who's there in Milwaukee. I just want to get more on your response, because it is hard to imagine how this week of the Republican National Convention is going to play out, business as usual or as planned. What are you learning about some of the adjustments or changes that could be made in the coming hours?
Whit, I was told just moments ago that there were no changes to the convention itself, but I would note that there is precedent for condensing a convention in the event that you need to. There have been times where major storms, either in a convention city or elsewhere in the country, have forced the cancellation of one night. There is plenty of wiggle room in a schedule like this to be able to do the convention business in fewer than the 4 nights that are now scheduled. But I am told that things are still on track as of this hour, although things are changing fast. But Whit, I would mention, just to understand what a convention is like, it's not just what goes on inside the arena itself. That's the main convention business. We're talking about dozens, maybe hundreds of other events throughout the weekend. John Carl's been reporting about things that are canceled tonight.
We'll now have a doctor who was on the scene and treating people, Dr. Jim Sweetland. Dr. Sweetland, what did you see, and who did you treat? What were the extent of the injuries?
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me on. I was in the stands about 30 feet away from an individual that received a head wound, a headshot. He was on the lower portion of the same stands. I was looking at the graph when I heard what sounded like firecrackers going off. I saw the Secret Service then swarm over Donald Trump, and somebody near the location of this individual cried out, he's down, he's hurt, he's been shot. And so, being an emergency department physician, I just went into muscle memory and went down there to assist him.
And how did you assist him, doctor? And what did he look like? What were the extent of his wounds? It sounds like this was a male. What can you describe for us?
It's a male. He appeared to be mid-30s. I believe he was Hispanic. He was wearing a Trump rally shirt. He was shot in the head. His body was twisted around and wedged between two benches that were in the stand. He was not breathing. He did not have a pulse or at all. He appeared fairly gravely ill. With the help of 3 other people, I was able to get him back up on a bench, and I administered CPR. I breathed for him, standard CPR, and also did chest compressions. There was a lot of blood that was spilt on the stands where he lay, as well as brain matter.
Doctor, did he appear to have any family with him, or did he seem like he was alone?
He seemed like there was 2 family members. I continued to try to resuscitate him. 2 Pennsylvania State police officers approached and tapped me and said, "We got him." They're big guys. They lifted him off the bench like a rag doll. They thought I was family. I said, "No, I'm an emergency department physician, just trying to help." And they gathered up 2 family members and they left.
Doctor, this is Margaret Brennan in Washington. I am sorry for all that you have gone through. Thank you for sharing your account. I wonder if you can share with us any detail of what you witnessed in terms of whether you saw what the injury was caused by. Was there impact from the bullet, or as we're seeing rumors of, was there shrapnel? Was there glass that sprayed that also caused injuries in the area?
Yeah, no, this was a bullet wound that was in the right temporal area above the right ear. The bone was elevated, and there was profuse blood and excuse me for saying this, brain matter coming there. So it really was a bullet wound, an entry wound.
Wow.
Looking at him, I did not examine him beyond performing CPR.
Brain
I
matter.
did not see an exit wound.
Did you, doctor, have any visibility into others in the area who might have had injuries? And could you tell from the distance you were at what the former president was?
You guys, there's reports being put out there that they were the possible shooter, the person that we just saw dragged out there. Give me a break. This is coming from the same person that doesn't even know who Wismod is, okay? That's how much investigating they do. Do me a favor. This was an innocent bystander that was at the rally that was there to support. To sit there and twist a victim into them possibly being the shooter. The shooter was on the frickin' roof, people. What the hell is wrong with some of these people out here when they have a huge ass platform, a humongous community, and they put out misinformation like that? It's the same person. I don't want to see the name typed in chat because I'll just delete it, because the misinformation that this person puts out there is a bunch of bullshit.
Was injured by. We can see in images that there was blood, but we don't know if, for example, he had a close call, if this was shrapnel, if this was glass, or do you have any way of knowing?
I have no way of knowing the injuries to the president. I was focused entirely on that poor individual that was shot.
Off mute.
And I once you're in that mode, you really don't pay attention to the surroundings. I did look briefly for any guns or weapons in the area where he was or around where other members of his family were. I didn't see any weapons, no guns, no knives, nothing.
Could you tell the distance at which the shot was taken? Did you see the origin of the shot?
I couldn't tell. Again, I'm not a telemetry expert, but
they're not going to listen, people.
The way the wound entered.
Listen, they're not going to let somebody with an AR-15. Come on now.
It was, I think, from being
what is going on
with distance, it seemed. And sometimes
it's common sense. It's not like even investigating. It's common sense.
They'll shoot the individual in front of them so they then can shoot their true target. I just thought of that as I was dealing with the
I'm serious. What person that does investigative work on here sits there and can go, oh, that's common sense? Man, I swear. The same people you say, oh, don't worry, you won't run into a rock. Okay.
With this individual.
Mm-hmm.
My
Doctor,
God.
since you are a medical professional, the fact that
the
the
doctor was
former
trying to
president
help
was
him,
able to
man.
stand up, we heard him say, you know, get my shoe. He had a trickle of blood, but he had his arms around others. That would, as we are hearing from these statements from his campaign, suggest that he is fine. What was it that you think took him off his feet?
I don't know because I did not witness that. When I turned around, the Secret Service were already piled on him, and my attention was entirely on this individual, so I could not really assess the president how he was walking off the stage. The first thing I said when I got up and I turned to my friend said, did Trump walk off the stage? And he said, yes. And so to me, that indicated that the wound was not severe, at least at that moment.
For all delegates and invite.
Country, you mean uniting?
Country, yep.
Yeah.
As a one, I feel like people are going to hopefully eventually start joining together and come out as one against the evil coming into the world or into our country, however you want to look at it like that. Stand up, I guess we could say.
John Dohanish, we appreciate your time tonight, and we're thankful that you are okay and the people around you, and we're just so sorry, and our hearts ache for you and others who had to witness this horror, and of course the families of those who were killed and injured. John, thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Once again, for those of you who are just tuning in, we're coming to 10 p.m. Eastern time here, the top of the hour. We've been on this story for hours. I'm Whit Johnson in New York. We are following the major developments tonight after the shooting at a campaign rally for former President Donald Trump. This happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. On the right side of your screen right there, you're seeing the events play out in real time. It was a matter of seconds. The president described the incident on Truth Social a short time ago, saying that he was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of his right ear. And you could actually see in the video moments before he reached for his ear before he went down to the ground. He was then taken to a nearby hospital and is reported to be fine. The incident is being investigated now as a possible assassination attempt. Authorities say the shots were fired from a rooftop outside the venue from some 200 to 300 yards away. 8 rounds were fired from an AR-style rifle. The shooter was then neutralized, killed by the Secret Service. A second person, a bystander, is also dead, and we're told that 2 others were injured, and we're still awaiting more details on their conditions. Earlier this evening, President Biden came before the cameras condemning the violence, saying all federal agencies are engaged in this investigation. The FBI is taking the lead. They will, of course, focus on the shooter and the motivation, but also on the security measures surrounding the event. This horrific moment, loud popping noises, that's what we could hear in the video. That's what we've been hearing from witnesses. The former president, in the photographs you will see, appear to grab his right ear. Secret Service agents then rushing the stage, protecting him with their bodies, crowding around the former president. Those anxious moments waiting to see if Trump was okay. And you can see that trickle of blood coming down in some of the images. Secret Service then helping Trump up with what appeared to be that blood around his ear, Trump pumping his fists, signaling to the crowd that he was okay. And we did hear some roars and cheers from the crowd when they saw that. Agents helping Trump to a vehicle. And once again, as he gets in there, acknowledging the crowd that was cheering him as he left. And then they take him off.
From him, like,
where were you and what happened?
I was about 5 feet away from him. Like, I was within like sight distance. Like, I was so close. And all of a sudden, I just hear these 4 shots, and everybody's screaming "drop!" And you can see the blood like splatter on his face, and the Secret Service just barricades him. And you know, it was just like so scary.
So you were behind Trump?
No, I was on Trump's left side. Well, I think when the shots are fired, that he was facing towards us. because when they took him out, he was that way, but he was like directly in front of us. Like the podium was here, and when he got shot, he was here, like on the left side. So we like watched him go down and hit the ground, and everybody was screaming like, "Get down, get down!" And then the next thing you know, the like Secret Service is barricading him, and he's throwing his fists up in the air. But it was so scary because we were like 5 feet away from the guy.
You think he was hit?
I do. The blood was all over his face. I think he had to have been hit.
What do you think about this craziness?
It's just honestly so scary. Like, you see all these things about shootings and you never think it's going to be you until it is. And I was just on the ground and I was thinking, like, you don't know like what their target is, like if it's just Trump supporters or if it's like Trump. So I was just so scared. I was laying on the ground. I was like, am I going to be next?
When he was leaving, pumped his fist, what did you think?
Oh, I thought he was the guy. You know, after that, it's just the man.
What was going through your mind?
When I was just laying on the ground and just like praying it wasn't going to be me, and I called my dad, and my dad thought I was messing with him because he heard people in the back screaming Donald Trump, because when he put his fist up in the air, I guess people started screaming, and he thought I was messing with him, and I was like, no, like I was upset, I was crying, and I was being so serious with him. I was like, Dad, like there's a shooting, like we're all on the ground, and it was just so scary.
What do you think? Why would someone do this?
I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, he obviously does have a lot of haters and a lot of people that would want to see him gone. But I'm just confused on how the security let that slide, you know, like whether it was off property or on property. It's just, you know, so crazy to me.
Well, the one way you just witnessed political and U.S. history.
Yeah.
Few assassinations and attempts.
Yeah, that's what me and my mom were talking about. We thought it was the first one since what, JFK? Like the first attempt? Reagan. Reagan. Yeah. Yeah, it's just so crazy.
What do you think about why would someone do this?
I don't know. I honestly don't have an answer for why somebody would do this. I guess just trying to take him out. You know, Biden's on the other hand. Got to get him out of there somehow.
What do you think about, you know, someone even just trying this, just the craziness of it all? I mean,
yeah, I honestly just think like our society has gone so downhill, and with like all the shootings and like just everything that's been happening recently, it's just such a mess. And it's just like this stuff didn't happen before, and now that it's happening now, it's just so scary. It makes you not even want to like go to stuff like this, you know.
You were having a good time?
This is the first time I've ever been to a Trump rally, and you know, it's my first time, probably going to be my last now. It's just so scary. And you hear about this stuff, and like I said, you just, you know what I mean, you brush it off until it's you. It's such a scary thing.
And you had a duck.
I did. Yeah, they screamed. They said, everybody get down, and the people around me dropped. There was two rows in front of me, and they were reserved, so we were the closest we could be. We woke up at 4:30 in the morning and drove the 2 hours here. We got here, we waited in line for 4 hours. So we were very close, and you know, the guys from Secret Service, they were just screaming. They were just like, it was loud, like everybody get down. And I heard 4 shots, and there was like a pause and one other shot, and people started lifting their heads and they started screaming, and they said, get back down, get back down. But I do think they got the guy whenever the second shot came out. It's very scary.
So you had video of what?
I have the video of them barricading him, and I think I have a little bit more from when they took him off of the stage, and when they started barricading him, he threw his fist in the air. I have the video from where I was sitting.
You mind sending that to us?
Yeah,
How
of
long
course.
is the clip?
It's only like 4 seconds.
Oh, never mind. That's like too quick.
Right now, he had just showed up at the Trump rally just a short time before it started, and he actually tells me that he saw the shooter on the building, and his name is Benjamin Macer. Thank you so much for staying around. Just take me back. What were you doing before the shooting happened, and then what did you see and hear?
I was just standing there like everybody else, waiting for Trump, and as Trump started, I noticed 2 officers that were looking for something or somebody. I was looking around myself and seeing a guy on top of one of the buildings go in between one building to the next, and went and told the officer that he was up there. And when I went back to my spot, I heard that people could still see the person from where they were standing. So I checked that out. And I went back to tell the officer that if he came over there, he could see them. And when I turned my back is when the shots when the shots started, and then it took me a second or two to figure out exactly what it was, and then it was just getting out of there and helping some other person out with her child, and we got out, and that was the end of that, and I went and left, and that was all.
So the viewers have some perspective. Behind us, okay, is the American Glass Research Company. Okay, can you kind of describe the building behind us, the tan building right there? Can you take a look at it? And then where was the shooter exactly?
There's more buildings behind the tan building that we can see, and we were back there, and there's two or three buildings behind that, and he was on both of them. I assume both of them when he went on that small section from one to the other, and that was where I last saw him, was the end of his day.
So this man was able to basically climb to the next building, and you told law enforcement, hey, there's a guy over there.
Correct. I don't know how he got up there. I don't know any of that, but I definitely saw him up there, and officer, and that was all I know.
Did you get a good look at the shooter?
No, I don't know anything about him other than I believe he had a gray shirt on, but that's about as much as I know.
And then what happened after the shots were fired? Can you describe just the panic and just the fear I'm sure you felt?
There was definitely panic. We started out of there, and I went away a little bit and noticed there was a lady trying to get out of there with her two chairs and her little child, and I helped her. I carried the child out and her chairs for her, and we got her out, and she said that her dad was still up there, and told me what he was wearing. So I went back up and found her dad and told him where he could find his daughter, and then that was it. I left and got myself out of there.
So the building where the shooter was, if you look to your left, it's that light tan building that we're seeing to the left of that brown building, correct?
Correct. Back behind the couple of trees.
And any idea just where he was positioned in terms of shooting at the former president?
He was just on the roof. That he would have been almost parallel to the stage. I couldn't see the president from where I was, but I knew where the stage was.
So you were telling me that you actually told law enforcement, hey, there is a guy over there.
Correct.
And what was their response again?
He just took that information and went towards the building looking for the person. And I'm not sure, like I said, when I turned around is when the shots were, so I don't know what happened with that. And then obviously my attention was directed somewhere else.
Anything, you said you're a local here. What do you know about this company here?
I don't know anything about American Glass Research. I assume they do glass research, but that's all I know.
And then another witness I interviewed, he just is baffled, just confused how, with all of the police here, the Secret Service, how this could have happened. Just what are you wondering right now?
I don't have much wonder. The shooter was outside of the secured fence. He never would have went through security. So he was just far enough away, and it's an unfortunate thing that happened, and that's all.
Did you see him get shot?
No, like I said, my back was turned at that point, so I didn't see any of it.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
I'm here with Joseph Mine. He was sitting actually behind Donald Trump in the bleachers today when this all unfolded. I'm going to let him share exactly what he saw. It was a very harrowing moment that he was there for. Can you please tell us what happened, Joseph?
Yeah, it was the Trump. I was attending the rally. It seemed initially like firecrackers went off. It was very confusing initially because I knew it was gunfire, but I couldn't quite tell where it was coming from. It sounded like it was coming from behind the bleachers, and the man in the bleachers, kind of to the right of me in the bleachers, took a gunshot wound to the head. Was killed, and another woman. I don't know exactly where she was in the bleachers. I think she was either behind me or to the right of me. She got around she got hit in the forearm and hand. It looked like, but if she was wounded, she wasn't killed.
Can I ask you how you're feeling? Obviously, you just witnessed something terrible happen. A lot of chaos was in the room. How exactly are you feeling right now, Joseph?
It's something you don't expect. It's a bolt out of the blue, so it's very shocking. It's just, I think a lot of people in the crowd just thought it was fireworks going off. I knew immediately it was gunshots. I knew they were close. And then when I saw someone get hit and go down, that's when I knew it was probably serious. It was a lot of confusion. It's just massive confusion, throughout the event. I saw Donald Trump get hit. It looked like he was either, I was running my camera at the time, but it looked like he was just turning his head to the side. It looked like he got grazed in the right ear with a bullet. I kind of saw that go on, and then I looked down, I saw that the man, had died in the bleachers. It was just complete pandemonium. Like there was a bit of a delay, like there was a lot of confusion, but immediately, it seemed like more gunfire erupted. I couldn't figure out where that was coming from. And then, there was a state policeman there, I believe a SWAT team, showed up relatively quickly. They jumped the side. There was a fence, it was next to the bleachers. They jumped the bleachers and started clearing the bleachers. And then I helped carry the body of the man down out of the bleachers, and they took him to a tent behind the bleachers. We put a towel over his head, but he's deceased.
You were telling me before when we were chatting briefly that you never had a chance to make it to a Trump rally, that this was your first time. Would you feel safe coming back to another Trump rally?
Yeah, it's a very random event that happens. I feel safe generally where I go in the country. I think the problem is we have everyone seems very angry, and it makes you kind of I'll go to a Trump rally again, but I'll think twice. You definitely want to have your head on the swivel. It just seems like there's a lot of angry people out there, and I'm not shocked that this happened. I'm shocked that I was sitting there and it happened next to me. Obviously, you never anticipate that to happen, but it's just horrible. We shouldn't be at a level of political discourse in this country where this is going on. It feels like it's 1960 again. It's horrible.
Can you describe for me, Joseph, what happened after you saw the shots? And I was there as well. Secret Service was screaming for everyone to get down. They quickly tried to clear the area. I'm just curious what that process was like for you in the aftermath.
Very confusing. Like I said, I think everyone who was in the bleachers knew. It was initially confusing when the gunshots erupted. I think the crowd thought it was fireworks. I think someone thought they were playing a joke. And the people were close to the people that got injured and killed, you obviously knew it wasn't a joke. And it seemed like there was a push-pull in the crowd. And that is, one half of the crowd on the far end of the rally thought it was some type of weird joke. The other half of the crowd knew it wasn't, was trying to push or impress upon the rest of the crowd that this is serious. And I think everyone got the idea very quickly that it was a dangerous situation. And then everyone just started hitting the deck. And, kudos to the Secret Service. Again, when you're in these situations, a second feels like it's an hour, but it seemed like authorities were there very quickly. It just seemed to me, like I said, I was sitting there, it seemed like the rounds came from behind, and they got this, they hit the gentleman in the head. He got a gunshot wound to the head, and the other lady was injured. And then I saw President Trump, get hit, and it looked like his right ear. But it seemed initially everyone was like half the crowd was in shock, and the other half thought it was some type of weird joke. And it took a bit for everyone to get a good understanding of what was going on. So.
You mentioned that you had spoken with the person who ended up falling, I believe you said, or he was with his whole family?
No, his family watched it happen. So they were in the bleachers when he got hit and he went down. I think they were trying to figure out what was going on. They were screaming for help. the body was, they put a towel over the man's head. The body was removed from the bleachers. Then the police came back brief, right after and tried to move the family, but they were all in shock. They weren't processing what was going on. The man was definitely, he was dead the minute he was hit. I mean, it was something that reminded me of the Zapruder film from Kennedy. I mean, it was his head snapped and that was it. And I caught it out of the corner of my eye and, and then there was just pandemonium. And again, it's Pennsylvania. You're out in rural Pennsylvania. You don't really anticipate this is going to happen, but it happened.
You mentioned, and I'm sorry, I know this is very emotional for you as well. You mentioned that, this was your first Trump rally. How are you feeling about the election now? What are you hoping to see moving forward? We've already seen a lot of statements of support from across the aisle come in for the former president. I can tell you too from our sources that they say that Donald Trump is okay, that he is at a local facility being treated. But I would love just your view on, I know you came here today to support the man that, the former president. I'm curious how you think about this now. I know it's a hard question given the chaos that we're currently in and the adrenaline that we're both feeling right now, but if you can share any of that insight.
It solidifies my support. I understand, people believe that Trump's, well, they know he's bombastic. They don't really like him. He's a very polarizing figure. He has an abrasive personality, but I truly believe he has the best interests of the country at heart. And, you make a point, the man's a billionaire. He could be sitting like you said, he was sitting at the rally joking about it. He's like, I could be sitting in the Mediterranean on a yacht enjoying my life, but I'm not. I'm trying to help run the country. It puts in perspective, there's a real cost for that. I mean, there's some people that really want him dead. And to me, this is just ridiculous. Like, we have a lot of political violence in this country. It comes from it's not so much from the right, it comes from everywhere. And it just needs to stop. JFK, at RFK, you've had Martin Luther King. Now you're going to, attempt the life of Reagan. And now you have an attempted, assassination of Trump. It's just ridiculous. And it just, I don't think it's a gun problem. I don't think it's a violence problem. I think there's a lot of angry people that just have too much interest in politics, and it's a zero-sum game to them. Politics shouldn't be a zero-sum game where someone wins everything and someone loses everything. And I think this is a result of that. People came today, we're very happy. They're here to support Trump, but you can when you talk to people in the crowd, there's a tenseness. They don't want to talk to family members about politics because it just gets too angry. So I don't know what to tell you, but this needs to stop.
Thank you so much, Joseph.
More like what we heard, the bullets rattling around the grandstand. One hit the speaker tower, and then chaos broke. We hit the ground, and the police converged to the grandstands. The first thing I heard was a couple of cracks, and then I saw a hydraulic line from one of the speakers looked like it got hit. Then I heard, like Chris said, a couple of bullets rattling around, and then we hit the deck. And once the authorities converged, we assisted with two patients that may have gotten shot up in the grandstand, and we cleared a path for getting them out of the way. And it's just a sad day for America. Well, after we heard the shots got fired, then the hydraulic line was spraying all around. You could see the hydraulic fluid coming out of it, and then the speaker tower started to fall down. And then we heard another shot that you could hear. You knew something was. It was bullets. I mean, it wasn't firecrackers. I mean, they weren't super loud shots, but you could tell they were. You could hear it landing. The ammunition landing, and it was metal. Yeah, it was. And then we just kind of took cover behind it. There was a farm tractor there. We just told everybody to get down. We tried to get them to move back because at that time we didn't know if there was still an active shooter. And then we turned around and we were concerned for the president to beat Trump. And we saw him stand up, and it looks like he was really, the Secret Service really had been huddled around him. And then he got up, and then he gave the motion it was okay. And then after that, we was just trying to get out safely.
A gentleman who was along the fence line just I'm just meeting him right now. Sir, thank you so much. You're talking to KDKA. Can I have your name and what did you see and hear?
There's Ben Macer. I was at the same point that probably
A witness right now. He had just showed up at the Trump rally just a short time before it started, and he actually
Former President Donald Trump was rushed off stage by the Secret Service after a shocking incident only moments after he began speaking at a Saturday rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Details about what happened are still unclear, but loud bangs were heard inside the venue, possibly shots fired, as Trump was making his last public remarks ahead of next week's Republican convention in Milwaukee. His ear appeared to be bleeding. The Secret Service issued this statement saying, quote, "An incident occurred the evening of July 13th at a Trump rally in Pennsylvania. The Secret Service has implemented protective measures and the former president is safe. This is now an active Secret Service investigation and further information will be released when available." The Trump campaign also released a statement that says President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this heinous act. He is fine and is being checked out at a local medical facility. More details will follow. A large number of Secret Service agents is in Milwaukee right now ahead of the convention. They're trying to piece together what happened here in Butler. The former president, who has had Secret Service protection since 2015, was taken away in a motorcade. He held up a fist as he got into his SUV. A senior government official confirmed to CBS News that the former president is safe. President Biden has received an initial briefing on the incident. Lauren Linder, CBS News, Butler, Pennsylvania.
Ooh. All right, y'all. We're going to go ahead and end the show. I'll keep you guys updated with any updates, whether it's a community post. We'll continue the discussion in our Facebook group if you'd like to be a part of it. There's the link for it. Another sad day in America. What the hell is going on, man? What the hell is going on? Got that American backdrop in the photo there. Appreciate you all. Thank you so much. We will see you tomorrow at the protest. Hashtag justice for Micah. Tell everybody you love them. I hope you have a peaceful and positive evening. I'll be putting an upload of that video we played earlier that I recorded. I appreciate you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.